How's it going, guys, and welcome to my channel. So the new quest and the exotic mission Duo Destiny, where you obtain the exotic class item, has been out for a few days now, and it has caused a bit of an uproar because it can't be completed solo. And I'd just like to talk about that a little bit here. But before we start, if you find yourself enjoying the video, press that like button, and if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe for more Destiny 2 content. So on Tuesday, we were all wondering where the exotic class items were, and after a little while, it was figured out that you needed to run overthrow in all 3 locations, which would then open up the new exotic mission, Duo Destiny. And when solo players went to access the mission, you couldn't because it requires 2 players. Now, this naturally created some drama around the mission, with players saying it's a massive L, and some saying there's just nothing wrong with it. So what I'm going to say is Bungie has to get creative with missions, and that will mean some can't be played solo, and I know that's unfortunate. This can't even be played with the usual 3-man fireteam. So some activities in the game do require a fireteam, and honestly, this mission is really unique and special, and it will be one of the best experiences you'll have if you just run it. Destiny 2 is a social game, and sometimes gear will be locked behind social activities. Now, I'm mainly a solo player myself, and this is due to time commitments and other things in my private life, and I totally understand if I can't match up with players in LFG or some friends I've got in the game in certain activities, then I just can't get the gear tied to that activity, and that is absolutely fine. Bungie can't cater to everyone, and there has to be a happy medium. Now, once upon a time in Destiny, we never had Fireteam Finder built into the game, and we had to go on Discord, or we had to use an app, or the Destiny app, and I'd say it was even more elitist back then, to be honest. But now it's literally available in-game and has a ton of options when it comes to selecting what type of player you're looking for, the type of player that you are. You can have your different requirements. So there is really everything you need there to make sure that the experience is the best for you. You can either say that you are looking for Sherpas, which is brilliant. And to be honest, Fireteam Finder is an absolutely fantastic addition to the game. Now, I can understand if you're not too confident in a social setting, but the fact that it's only 2 players just makes it that little bit less daunting. And Fireteam Finder does a great job of making it easy to link up. Sometimes you just have to make that jump, and I'm speaking from a place where I did have social anxiety a few years back. That jump will be such a relief for you, and you never know, you might make a Destiny friend, and you'll also give yourself some much needed confidence. LFG isn't that bad. Sure, you'll get the odd twat, but the beauty of a game is you can just kick them, or you can just back out. I know anxiety is a serious issue, and I also understand why players would be aggrieved by this mission, with the main talking point being what's locked behind it. The exotic class items are one of the main draws to this expansion, and if you did purchase the final shape for these items and are a solo player, honestly, I do feel your pain. If you are a solo player by choice and have no underlying issues as to why you can't link up, honestly, there shouldn't be any problem with getting someone to link up with and giving it a go. And if you are that latter player there moaning, I think you are just moaning for the pure sake of it. And I am going to say, if you do struggle with anxiety or any other issues, I found this post on Reddit and it might just be for you. Now, this was posted by a Redditor called Sleep Witch, and it says, for anyone wanting to get into raiding or other endgame activities but feel held back by speech, hearing or anxiety problems. The recent discussions here around the newly released exotic class item mission has shown that there are quite a few players who are unable to LFG for it because many groups require you to use a mic, either because they are mute, deaf, socially anxious, or simply don't have a microphone to use. For those of you who aren't aware, there is a Discord LFG community called D2 Sanctuary that aims to provide a safe place to LFG for players with various disabilities and mental disorders, or people who just want to play without any distractions. Having a mic is never required as part of a fire team there, though you are absolutely free to use one if you want. Many still do despise it not being required. If you have never got into raiding, dungeons or any other fighting requiring activity due to not being able to use a mic, then I would highly recommend joining us. Every activity in the game is doable without a mic, even raids. They go on to link their Discord, and there's an alt invite link if the top one doesn't work. I have put both of them links down in my description below. And honestly, if you do fall into that category, please follow them links. From what I've been reading, especially in the replies to that, there's a lot of wonderful people over there, and it will help you do some of the really cool activities in the game. The fact is, the mission is there. Fireteam Finder is there. We've got this post from Sleepwitch, D2 Sanctuary is there. and players are even offering to help carry people through. Bungie have made this as accessible as they can whilst keeping this mission so fun and unique. If you absolutely can't play with someone else, then you'll have to understand that some activities are just not for you. We asked Bungie to create new, unique stuff for us to do in the game, and with this mission, they absolutely have. The mission itself is amazing and one of the best experiences I've had in this game. The mechanics are really well done, and the aesthetic of the whole mission is absolutely stunning. The boss fight was also top drawer with a fun little choice at the end, which I am not going to spoil. Duo Destiny is absolutely an S tier mission and is the best exotic mission I've played. Obviously, the reward is great as well, but to be honest, that was just a nice little sweetener because the mission was just so much fun. I've also seen some players mention the timer, but honestly, that is really not an issue either. It's so generous that you'll struggle to fail it once you know what's going on in terms of the mechanics. So once me and my buddy ran it a few times just to get the mechanics down, we actually flew through it with loads of time to spare. And I've also seen some players say it's the worst expansion to date for solo players, among other things, and that is just way too reactionary. The Destiny forums are not too great to look at right now, with some players just really not happy, but the forums aren't a great place to look anyway, especially in times like this. But I just want to go through some of them because some of them are okay, but some of them are just, yeah, they're just silly. Someone said, once again, Bungie doesn't look at the long term. As a solo player, I have accepted there are a lot of items I simply won't obtain. This is mainly because I lack patience to LFG. It is either full of toxic, must be X statements, or just a general waste of time. The thing that bugs me with this is that the class item seems fairly important to Prismatic subclass, maybe not necessary, but important. And while LFG is probably abundant today for this quest since it just dropped, in the coming weeks it will be less so as a good chunk of the players will have already completed the quest. As time moves forward, LFG will become more and more unlikely. And then he goes on to say it reminds him of the Rat King. Now, this comment is a strange one because in the first paragraph, they say a lack of patience is why they don't use LFG. You can literally set up your own group with your own standards and requirements. And I kind of get the second paragraph, which I'll touch on. I understand that the class item is quite important to Prismatic and it is a big part of the expansion, so I do get where they're coming from there. And another Guardian isn't happy at all, saying dual exotic mission, no thanks, bye bye. Let me know when a smart decision of the method to rewarding this important class item becomes available. Until then, my daily logons for the last 10 years have suddenly become a non-existence. I don't know people's personal circumstances, but to quit a game over this seems a bit over the top. And then we have this one here saying absolutely hate the dual exotic mission. Where the hell do you get off, Bungie, making a mission that cannot be completed solo for such an important item to all players out there? You've catered and wiped the streamers' asses long enough. What about the small guy, the dude who doesn't have his life to throw away and hope that your LFG doesn't weasel and leave you without a pot to pee in? Disgusted and not amused at the vagueness of this expansion, nothing explained, no evidence, nothing related to anything I've experienced in my 10 years playing the game. You had to change it that much for the streamers to whatever he said. All over that, I don't even recognise the game. It's annoying most of the time, massively repetitive nonsense, overthrow crap is making my head hurt. This Guardian, to be honest, is just ranting for the sake of it. This expansion is straight up the best Bungie have ever produced. Overthrow is also a really good activity and it can even be done solo. So moan about solo players, then proceeds to moan about a solo activity. You just couldn't make this shit up some of the time. What I will say is, with the class items being farmable, either with this mission or a really bad drop rate in Overthrow, that needs to change. They need to up the drop rates because running this mission constantly is not the way, and getting a solo player to run it once, fine, but more than that is just a bit too much in my opinion. Maybe have some of the drop rates tied to the 12-man mission Excision, because everyone loves that mission. You don't need a microphone, it just automatically match makes you. You can just feel comfortable taking down the witness and you get yourself a nice little chance of having the exotic class item drop at the end. The more ways to earn these items, the better, because in my opinion, I do think they are quite integral to Prismatic. In terms of advertising as well, some have said Bungie should have made it known, and I can sort of agree there, to be honest. Give players the option before buying the expansion, especially with a massive part of the new subclass tied behind a 2-player mission. Bungie didn't need to go into that much detail regarding the mission itself, but letting guys know would have been the correct call. In one of the TWABs where they said about the class items, they could have said at the bottom of it, these will be obtainable through a mission that you're going to need 2 players. Something like that. That would just give people the heads up. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below, guys, and please keep it respectful. But that is the end of the video. If you've stuck with this until now, thank you very much. Please consider hitting that like button as well. It helps the channel and the video up massively. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button too for more Destiny 2 content. But as always, Guardians, enjoy yourself in the final shape, and I'll see you on the next video.